Welcome to Thai Movie Recap. Today we're diving into one of the most bittersweet love stories from Thailand, a film about loneliness, memory, and the one perfect day that changed everything. This is Fan Day, the One Day. In every office, there's always that one person, quiet, forgettable, always in the background. For this company, that person was Denchai. He worked in IT support, the guy everyone only remembered when the Wi-Fi crashed or when the printer jammed during a big presentation. People didn't call him by his name. They called him, "Help me, IT." And the funny thing is, he didn't mind. He liked being invisible, because when no one notices you, you can quietly notice everyone else. That's how he noticed Nui, the bright, charming marketing girl, the kind of person who lit up a room when she walked in. The girl who smiled even when she was tired, who laughed too loud at bad jokes, and who never remembered his name. Nui, playfully, distant, "Oh, IT guy, can you fix my computer again?" Denchai, nervously, Sure, yeah, no problem." She never looked at him the way he looked at her, but that didn't stop him from caring. He'd notice when she was stressed, when she skipped lunch, when she looked sad staring at her phone. He knew she had a boyfriend, a pilot, handsome, confident, the kind of guy who could take her anywhere. But Denchai didn't hate him. He just wished, for one day, just one day, to be the person she looked at that way. Then came the company trip, a reward for the hardworking team. Destination, Hokkaido, Japan. Snowy, bright, beautiful, the kind of place where dreams almost feel possible. For Denchai, this was everything. He'd saved money for months, bought a new coat, and secretly hoped that maybe in this faraway land, things could be different. When the plane landed, snowflakes fell gently on his face. He smiled, because for the first time in years, he wasn't IT guy. He was just Denchai. On the bus, Nui sat a few seats ahead. She was taking selfies, laughing with friends. Denchai looked out the window, pretending not to care, but every glance found its way back to her reflection in the glass. Then, fate, or maybe bad luck, the guide announced. Tour guide, cheerful. "Tomorrow, we go skiing. Everyone be careful, okay?" Denchai had never skied in his life, but he wasn't worried. He was in Japan, Nui was nearby, and for once, he didn't feel completely invisible. The next day, everyone gathered on the slopes. Denchai stood awkwardly in his rented ski outfit, helmet too big, boots too tight, looking like a kid lost in a sports shop. He tried to keep up. He fell. He rolled. He made everyone laugh, including Nui, and that one small laugh was enough to warm him against the cold. Later that afternoon, Nui took a turn down a steep hill. She lost control, a scream, a flash of white, and she crashed into a snowbank. Everyone rushed over. She was alive, but shaken. When she opened her eyes, something was off. She didn't remember anything. Not her coworkers, not the company trip, not even her own name. The doctor called it temporary amnesia, short-term memory loss caused by the fall. He said it might last a day, maybe two. And just like that, the universe handed Denchai a miracle. For one day, Nui wouldn't remember who she was. She wouldn't remember her boyfriend, her office life, or the fact that he was just the IT guy. She'd see him as if for the first time. Denchai looked at her, sleeping peacefully in the hospital bed. He hesitated, then whispered softly, "If you could be my girlfriend, just for one day, that would be enough." He smiled, quietly to himself, because he knew, tomorrow, everything would go back to normal. But maybe, just for today, he could live a dream. And that's how it began. A love story written in snow, built on memory, and doomed by time. For Denchai, tomorrow didn't exist. Only today did. Morning came quietly over Hokkaido. The world outside was covered in white, silent, endless, like a blank page. And for Nui, that was exactly what her mind had become. Blank. She woke up confused, staring at the unfamiliar ceiling. Her coworkers surrounded her bed, whispering, worried. She blinked, trying to remember, but nothing came. Who are you people?" The doctor explained again. Temporary amnesia, no need to panic. Memories should return soon. But right now, she was lost. Her past, her name, her entire story, gone. And in that silence, Denchai stood at the edge of the room, hands trembling, heart pounding. He could hardly breathe, because he knew this was it. The one impossible chance he'd wished for had just come true. When the others left the room to sort out travel documents and call the insurance, Denchai stayed behind, pretending to check the Wi-Fi router in the hospital room, his usual excuse for being invisible. But when Nui looked at him, confused yet trusting, His heart nearly stopped. Do you know who I am? Yes, you're Nui. And you are? I'm your boyfriend. For a moment, the world froze. Even he couldn't believe what he'd just said. But then, Nui smiled. That same bright, gentle smile he'd only ever seen from afar. Oh, my boyfriend. And just like that, a lie became a wish come true. Later that day, the tour group continued their trip. While others assumed Nui needed rest, she insisted on joining, and Denchai, as her boyfriend, stayed by her side. They walked through the snowy streets of Otaru, stopped at souvenir shops, and drank hot cocoa together under paper lanterns. It was everything Denchai had ever dreamed of, but never dared to ask for. She held his arm to keep warm. He blushed so hard he nearly melted the snow around them. Nui, giggling. You're so quiet. Was I always the talkative one? Denchai, awkward laugh. Yeah, you could say that. Nui, I must really like you then. Her laugh echoed in the air, and for once, Denchai didn't feel invisible. He was someone she chose to be with. They took a photo together by the bridge, their faces red from the cold and from something else, something warmer. That night, they returned to the hotel. While everyone partied in the lounge, Denchai and Nui sat outside watching snowflakes fall over the quiet city lights. Nui, curiously, so, how did we meet? Denchai hesitated. Every part of him wanted to tell the truth, but he couldn't. He couldn't let the moment end. Denchai, softly, at work. You asked me to fix your computer, and I guess that's where it started. Nui, smiling, that's kind of cute. They talked for hours, about movies, childhood dreams, and what they'd do if they could start over. Nui said she'd like to live by the sea, to wake up with no makeup, no deadlines, no one expecting anything from her. Denchai just smiled and said, I'd like that too. But deep down he knew this wasn't real. Every word she spoke was borrowed time. Later that night, Nui fell asleep with her head on his shoulder. Outside, the snow kept falling, slow, endless, like time itself was trying to stand still. He looked at her, memorizing her face, her breathing, the small curl of her smile even in sleep. And in that quiet, he whispered, I know tomorrow you won't remember me, but thank you for today. In that one night, Denchai lived a lifetime of laughter, closeness, warmth. He knew it was built on a lie, but for him, it was a truth his heart could finally touch. Sometimes love doesn't need forever. Sometimes one day is all you need. The morning after was brighter than usual. Outside the hotel window, the snow glittered under sunlight, turning Hokkaido into something that looked more like a dream than a place. And for Denchai, that's exactly what it was. A dream he didn't want to wake up from. Nui came down for breakfast, wrapped in a white scarf and a shy smile. She didn't remember much, but when she saw Denchai waiting, her face lit up with the warmth of something she couldn't name. Nui, good morning, boyfriend. Denchai, morning. You sleep well? Nui, I had a dream I was falling from the sky, but then someone caught me. Denchai, smiling softly, sounds like a good dream. She nodded, and the two of them shared breakfast together, as if they had done it 100 times before. The tour group planned another full day, visiting the famous Otaru Canal, the snow museum, and the cable car up the mountain. And this time, Nui didn't let go of his hand. They walked along the frozen canal, colorful lanterns floating on the water, couples posing for photos everywhere. For once, Denchai didn't feel out of place. He wasn't the IT guy in the background. He wasn't the invisible man. He was her person. Nui bought 2 cups of hot chocolate and handed one to him. Nui, smiling. I don't know why, but I feel like we've been here before. Denchai. Maybe in another life. She laughed softly, and for that moment, he could almost believe it. They went ice skating. Denchai clumsily tried to balance, arms flailing, nearly falling, and Nui laughed so hard she almost fell too. When she finally grabbed his hand, he steadied himself, and time seemed to pause. Nui, don't let me fall. Denchai, quietly, I won't. That single promise hung between them, floating like the snow that fell around their faces. They didn't talk much after that. They didn't have to. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was peaceful, like they'd known each other forever. Later that afternoon, they took the cable car to the top of the mountain. From up there, all of Hokkaido stretched below them, a sea of white and silver. Nui pressed her hand to the glass. Her reflection flickered faintly against the light. Nui, softly. It's strange. I don't remember anything from before yesterday, but I feel like I've been so tired for so long. Denchai. Maybe forgetting isn't always bad. She looked at him. He wasn't trying to sound wise. He was just speaking his truth. For once, both of them were free from the weight of who they were. No expectations, no pain, just the quiet comfort of being seen. Nui turned to him suddenly. Nui, what kind of boyfriend were you before I forgottings? Denchai blinked, caught off guard. Denchai, laughing nervously. The quiet kind? Nui, teasing. So, boring? Denchai, maybe, but I'm trying to be better. She smiled and reached out, touching his cheek gently. Nui, softly. You're already good. For Denchai, it was almost too much. The kindness in her eyes, the warmth in her voice. It wasn't just a fantasy anymore. It felt real, too real. He wanted to freeze that moment, trap it inside the snow so it could never melt. That night, they joined a local festival, lanterns floating in the dark sky, couples writing wishes on paper and sending them away with the wind. Nui wrote hers quietly. Nui, reading. I wish I could remember the people who make me happy. She looked up at him and smiled. Denchai, what did you write? Nui, shrugging. It's a secret. What about you? He hesitated, then wrote something simple. I wish today never ends. They released their wishes together, watching the paper lights float into the stars. The crowd cheered. Nui slipped her hand into his, and he didn't let go. Later that night, they walked back to the hotel in silence. She was humming softly, a tune he didn't recognize, maybe something she used to love before she forgot. At the door, she turned and smiled. Nui, thank you for today. Denchai, smiling sadly. Me too. She leaned forward and kissed him, just a small, hesitant kiss, but for him, it was everything. When she walked inside, Denchai stayed outside under the falling snow, looking up at the dark sky. He didn't cry. He didn't smile. He just stood there, grateful and terrified, because he knew something she didn't. Tomorrow she'd wake up, and when she did, this perfect day would vanish forever. Sometimes, one day can feel like forever. When you love someone who'll never remember, every second becomes precious. For Denchai, this was his forever, a single day carved into the snow. The next morning, Hokkaido greeted them with the soft glow of dawn. Snow still blanketed the streets, but the magic of yesterday felt fragile. Nui woke first. Something in her mind tugged, a whisper she couldn't quite place. The warmth, the laughter, the way Denchai had held her hand. It felt familiar, yet distant. She rubbed her eyes, sat up, and glanced around. The hotel room felt too quiet. She couldn't remember exactly what had happened yesterday. Her chest tightened. She knew she had experienced something special. Downstairs, Denchai waited with 2 cups of coffee. He looked out the window, seeing the snow sparkle like diamonds. He didn't turn around immediately, afraid perhaps that she'd forget too soon. Good morning, Nui. She blinked, trying to place his face. Then slowly, a small smile appeared. Good morning. Do I know you? Denchai froze. Her question sliced through him like ice, sharp, cruel, and entirely unavoidable. Carefully, softly. Yes, you do. Kind of. Her brow furrowed, confusion flashing across her face. I feel like I know you. Yesterday. Yesterday was important, wasn't it? He nodded, swallowing hard. Every word now mattered more than ever. Yesterday was everything. I wanted to make it perfect for you. Nui sat down, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup. Pieces of memory flickered, like faint snowflakes drifting through a window. Her laughter, the lanterns, his hand in hers, the kiss, the warmth. She gasped softly. I remember. Denchai's eyes widened, not fully, just flashes, fleeting recollections of moments they'd shared. Quietly, almost afraid. The festival, the lanterns, the hot chocolate, the ice skating. Denchai took a step closer. His voice trembled. You do remember? Some of it. It's like waking from a dream. I don't remember everything, but I remember how I felt, and it was happy. Really happy. She looked up, her eyes searching his. I feel like I'm supposed to know you, but I don't. And it's scary, but I also don't want to forget it again. Denchai reached for her hand, his fingers intertwined with hers, holding tightly. Then don't. Don't let it fade, even if it's just today or just tomorrow. I want you to remember that you're not alone. Nui smiled faintly, tears welling up. You made one perfect day. I don't want it to end. The rest of the day was bittersweet. They revisited the canal, the museum, the cable car. Everything was the same, yet different. Every laugh was tinged with urgency, the knowledge that reality was creeping back. At the mountaintop, Nui finally spoke. Nui. I remember now, but I remember the part where I forgot, too. And I'm scared, Denchai. What if we can't have this again? Denchai. Then we keep it in our hearts. One perfect day can't solve everything, but it can teach us something. That even if tomorrow comes, we felt it once. And that's enough. As evening approached, they joined the festival one last time. The lanterns, the laughter, the warmth of the crowd, it all felt eternal and fleeting all at once. Nui. I wish we could stay like this forever. Denchai smiled sadly. He knew the truth. Denchai. Forever doesn't exist, Nui. But today, this day, it's ours. And we'll keep it forever, even if it only lives in our memories. That night, they walked under the snow, hand in hand. No words were necessary. The world around them faded, leaving only the warmth of their connection. When she finally went to sleep, Nui whispered, Nui, thank you for the perfect day. Denchai stood outside once more, looking at the starry sky. He felt both joy and pain, knowing what tomorrow would bring. But for the first time, he understood that love isn't always about forever. Sometimes it's about the moments, the fleeting, fragile, breathtaking moments that change you, even when they vanish. One day can leave a lifetime of memories. Even when reality intrudes, the heart never forgets. For Denchai and Nui, yesterday's magic would stay with them forever, even if it only existed in memory. The morning after the festival dawned quietly over Hokkaido. The streets were still dusted with snow, glinting under the pale sun, but the magic of yesterday lingered like a fragile memory. Nui awoke slowly, her heart heavy with the awareness that today was ordinary. No lanterns, no music, no surprises, just the quiet hum of life returning. She glanced at Denchai, who was already awake, sipping his coffee. His eyes held the same warmth, but a hint of sadness lingered, as if he already knew the end of their brief, perfect world. Nui, softly. Good morning, Denchai. He looked up and smiled faintly. Good morning, Nui. Did you sleep well? She nodded, though her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Her mind replayed every moment of yesterday. The laughter, the snow, the warmth, the kiss. It all felt like a dream fading as dawn approached. Denchai, today, we go back to our lives. Her heart sank slightly, but she understood. Some moments are too precious to hold on to forever. Some days exist to remind you what happiness can feel like. They walked through the streets one last time, not as strangers, not yet fully as friends, but as something in between. Every glance, every touch was a silent acknowledgement of the bond they had formed in such a short span. Nui, quietly, I'll never forget this day. Denchai's lips curved into a gentle smile. Nor will I. Even if we never meet again, this day will stay with us. Sometimes that's all love needs, a single day that changes everything. They returned to the hotel to pack. Each movement was tinged with a strange mixture of sadness and gratitude. Every item they folded, every button they pressed, was a reminder that the perfect day must end. Nui, do you think we'll meet again? Denchai hesitated, then shook his head softly. I don't know. Life is unpredictable, but we don't need certainty to cherish what we had. Our day together, it's enough. At the station, Nui hugged him tightly. Not too long, not too short, just enough to carry all the unspoken words, all the emotions that couldn't fit into a single day. Nui, thank you for everything. Denchai, thank you for remembering how it felt. That's all I ever wanted. The train arrived and Nui stepped on, looking back once. Denchai stood on the platform, snowflakes settling on his hair and shoulders. Their eyes met for a long moment, a silent promise that though the day was gone, its memory would remain. Days passed. Back in their ordinary lives, the world seemed unchanged. But inside, something had shifted. Nui carried the warmth of that one day in every smile, every fleeting thought of happiness. Denchai, too, felt the echo of her laughter in his mind, a reminder that love doesn't always need forever. Sometimes, it just needs a single, perfect moment. Months later, Nui found herself sitting by a cafe window, watching the snow fall quietly over the city. She remembered the lanterns, the hot chocolate, the cold air mixing with warmth, and the feeling that one day could hold more meaning than a lifetime. She smiled softly, a quiet tear escaping. It wasn't regret, it wasn't sadness, it was gratitude for having experienced something real, something fleeting but profoundly beautiful. Denchai, in his own city, looked up at the stars one night. The memory of Nui's smile, her laughter, the fleeting magic of Hokkaido, all replayed in his mind like a delicate film. He whispered into the quiet night, Denchai. One perfect day, it was enough. And so, the story of Denchai and Nui ended not with forever, but with a moment that would last an eternity in their hearts. A day where love existed fully, beautifully, even if just for a single day. Because sometimes, love is not measured by years, but by the moments that leave us changed forever. Thank you for listening to Thai Movie Review and Spoil. This was a heavy one, a story that leaves you with a lot to think about. What are your thoughts on the film? Which scene has stayed with you all these years? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. That's all the time we have for today. Until next time, goodbye.